This is CBC Vancouver News.
The best way to ensure public safety and to put this difficult time behind us is with a municipal police force in Surrey.
And I will not make a decision on a half-baked report from the Solicitor General.
After years of debate, the future of policing in Surrey is still not settled. BC's top cop recommends Surrey say goodbye to the RCMP, but Surrey's mayor rejects that finding. Plus,
it will be very telling to see those photos because the 14 officers have denied that there was any blood, any injuries to his face.
The jury at a coroner's inquest into Miles Gray's death will not see a graphic photo of his body after a violent altercation with Vancouver police 8 years ago. And after weeks of delays, the trial resumes for a man accused of first-degree murder in the 2017 death of a Burnaby teen. The Crown today revealing new details. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle Ghoussoub. Dan is away tonight. After months of anticipation, a decision on the future of policing in BC's fastest growing city is finally here, but the future of any potential police force in Surrey remains up in the air. The mayor is rejecting the province's recommendation that her city continue transitioning to a municipal police force. The CBC's Mira Baines has our top story tonight.
The best way to ensure public safety and to put this difficult time behind us is with a municipal police force in Surrey.
Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth says the provincial government will pay for the extra costs for continuing the transition to the Surrey Police Service.
The costs are about $30 million a year difference between the Surrey RCMP and the Surrey Police Service. And we are prepared to ensure that the residents of Surrey do not burden the burden of those costs.
He says costs estimated independently by Deloitte could add up to $150 million over 5 years. He also put forward strict conditions if the city chooses to reverse the process to keep the RCMP. The BC government will not pay the costs, which would include $72 million in severance for SPS officers. Now the ball is in Surrey's court to act on that non-binding recommendation contained in a 500-page report.
We got this. We got that.
Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke said she's not changing her decision based on a redacted report.
Our decision is exactly what it was in December, that we will keep the RCMP as a police of jurisdiction.
Still, there seems to be a window of hope for the SPS.
Council and I will take the time to review the Solicitor General's information, the one that he put forth today, and we will act in the best interest of the citizens of Surrey.
Locke defeated Doug McCallum last year after promising to keep the RCMP in Surrey. Oddly enough, he was elected in 2018 after he said he would bring in a new municipal force. At the time, gang violence in Surrey was top of mind with a massive public rally. He could barely contain his joy.
I just want to say, what a great decision. I feel like doing some dancing up here, you know. And it's a great decision for the people of Surrey.
In contrast, disappointment at Surrey RCMP headquarters.
Well, I think today it's a degree of disappointment that we do not have a final decision.
A large reason for the province's recommendation was chronic staffing shortages at RCMP detachments across BC, and the risk of further shortages if the RCMP was forced to transfer hundreds of officers back to Surrey. The RCMP says it can meet the government's 7 conditions, mostly around staffing with recruitment.
And now that the national machine is rolling, the big red machine as we like to call it, I have every confidence that we'll be able to meet our human resource targets.
The new municipal police force is treading carefully. A statement from Surrey Police Service Chief Norm Lipinski says, "It is my hope that Council will recognize that now is the time to continue with this significant change in their policing model that will bring progressive and effective policing to the city for future generations." Now it's up to the City of Surrey on the future of the fledgling municipal police force. Mira Baines, CBC News, Surrey.
For more on this story, we spoke with Wally Opal, a former BC Attorney General and Supreme Court Justice. He's also a former chair of the Surrey Police Transition Task Force.
I have so much respect for the RCMP officers out there in Surrey. I've worked with them when I was a former prosecutor, and they do an excellent job. Many have moved into the communities, so I have a lot of sympathy for them. But this is what the Surrey Council wanted, and it was a political move for them at the time, but they concluded that we wanted a local police force with local management, local police board, and that's what they wanted. And it was a strict requirement that the province set upon them, but they met that.
We're monitoring an ongoing police situation out of Saanich. Saanich police confirmed the highway is closed in both directions from Mackenzie Avenue to Quadra Street. A witness say police told drivers on the Pat Bay Highway south to Vanelman to evacuate their vehicles and find a place to shelter as far away as possible. The witness also told the CBC she heard what sounded like gunshots and that ambulances had arrived on the scene. We'll continue to monitor the situation and we'll bring you more information as we get it. After weeks of delays, the jury trial of Ibrahim Ali has resumed. He's charged with the first-degree murder of a Burnaby teenager 6 years ago. As John Hernandez tells us today, prosecutors made their opening statement and revealed new information that has never before been heard by the public. And a warning, this story contains information that is disturbing.
It was the first time Ibrahim Ali stood in front of a jury since declaring his innocence to them nearly 4 weeks ago. He's the man accused of first-degree murder of a 13-year-old girl in Burnaby back in 2017. The girl's name is protected by a publication ban. Ali entered the court and then took a seat next to his interpreter and listened as the Crown outlined its opening statement. Prosecutors detailed the teen's final hours on July 17th, telling the jury she left her home near Burnaby Central Park around 6 p.m. carrying her phone and wallet. She went to a Tim Hortons for about an hour and a half and then headed toward the park. The Crown says she was on a trail when Ali allegedly grabbed and dragged her about 30 meters into the woods. Prosecutor Isabel Keeley told the jury the teen was raped and strangled to death. She said the suspect and the victim were unknown to each other, but DNA evidence will prove it was Ali who assaulted her. The Crown also says phone and bank records proved Ali was in Burnaby that day. Prosecutors then called their first witness to the stand. RCMP Constable Carlton Huggins says he was on patrol that night and went to the park after hearing the teen was reported missing. He says he came across a film crew worker who hadn't seen the victim. Police were able to ping the victim's phone, leading Huggins and another officer to a southeast corner of the park. Huggins found the victim's phone on the edge of a trail and then radioed for the service dog team. When they arrived, it took them less than a minute to find the teen. Huggins said the girl was half naked and clearly dead. In the defense's cross-examination, Huggins was pressed for more details on the film crew worker he came across but couldn't recall. The trial is expected to continue until at least the end of June. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
A man has been arrested and charged after an Uber driver was attacked in his car last week. That attack was recorded on video. Abbotsford police say they arrested 38-year-old William Tickle last night. Today, the Crown approved charges of assault causing bodily harm and uttering threats. Tickle has numerous unrelated charges against him, including assault with a weapon, sexual interference, willfully resisting or obstructing a peace officer, and theft. He remains in jail. The Supreme Court of Canada has ordered a new evidentiary hearing in the case of 2 men found guilty of first-degree murder in the Surrey 6 gang killings more than 15 years ago. Lawyers for Cody Havisher and Matt Johnson claim the trial judge made a mistake by dismissing evidence of police misconduct during the investigation. And in a unanimous decision, the High Court agreed. 6 people were gunned down in a Surrey high-rise in 2007, including 2 innocent bystanders. The mother of one of them, Chris Mohan, says she is not looking forward to returning to court.
I spent 219 days in court. And now I am thinking, how do I go and make this happen again? How much strength is left in me? Sometimes I feel like, I will be dead and gone like my son, and this thing will still be rolling on.
Matt Johnston died in prison last December, but lawyers for Havishar hope this new hearing could lead to a stay of proceedings. There will be one more day of testimony at the coroner's inquest into the death of Miles Gray. Gray died after a violent encounter with Vancouver police in 2015. As Belle Puri reports, today's hearing was delayed by almost 2 hours because of a fight over a graphic photograph.
Miles Gray died after a fight with Vancouver police officers. During the coroner's inquest into his death, photos of the lawn where it happened have been shown to the jury, but so far none have shown him. The picture in question today includes a graphic image of his body.
I took the position on behalf of the family that this would be of assistance to the jury.
Lawyers for Vancouver police and for officers who have testified at the inquest argued the jury didn't need to see the photo.
It will be very telling to see those photos because the 14 officers have denied that there was any blood, any injuries to his face.
The coroner said he was torn between complete transparency and proper procedure. If the photo had been introduced earlier in the inquest when witnesses could address it, it likely would have been admitted as an exhibit. But the coroner says to show it to the jury on the last day of the inquest would be out of context. The photo was denied. While disappointed with that decision, Gray's mother says she's satisfied with the testimony of a forensic pathologist and a toxicologist.
There was no indication of drugs or substances, testosterone or otherwise, in my son's blood. And the pathologist said Miles Gray wouldn't have died that day had he not been held down in restraints with weight on him.
The jury was told Gray died in a perfect storm of conditions that pushed his body over the edge.
Until the current Canadian outdated police practices, attitudes, recruitment, and training is changed, there will be more violence, more deaths, more families destroyed, more trust betrayed, and we have to work together to fix this.
Friends and family say they may have exhausted avenues of getting justice, but they won't stop their fight for accountability and attempts to make sure no one else dies like Miles Gray. Belle Puri, CBC News, Burnaby.
We have an update tonight on a tragic story out of Victoria. Police say they have located the mother of a newborn baby found dead Wednesday evening. She's receiving medical care and support. Officers say an autopsy was completed this morning. It concluded that the baby died of natural causes. The baby was found in the parking lot of the 700 block of Bay Street. The circumstances surrounding the baby's death are still under investigation by the Victoria Police Major Crimes Unit. With warmer temperatures upon us, the BC government is urging you to be prepared for possible spring flooding. Mid-elevation areas may see increased flood hazards this weekend, especially near rivers and streams. Spring and early summer can bring the most severe floods due to melting snow and rain, and communities are working to stay ahead of high waters. Cities and First Nations in the Fraser Valley have agreed to work together against floods and in recovery efforts.
We are providing an additional $8.5 million for several recovery projects made necessary by the atmospheric rivers that were not covered by the DFA program, including upgrades to the Barrowtown pump station, which was overwhelmed by floodwaters in late November of 2021.
$3.2 million will fund the Barrowtown pump station upgrades. The remaining $5.28 million will go to 9 other recovery projects. For those not facing possible infrastructural damage, Environment Canada says the jump in temperature is still cause for concern.
These high stream flow advisories cover most of the province. So, the concern would be those rivers changing quickly over the weekend. So if people are maybe swimming in there or fishing or even hiking nearby, you definitely want to be concerned, be aware that those rivers could be rising pretty quickly as we go through the weekend, and just kind of, be careful out there, if you will.
Little Sisters Bookstore in Vancouver's Davie Street neighborhood is celebrating 40 years in business. The institution has led an important fight for the queer community and has become a safe haven for the LGBTQ+ community. Yasmin Gandam was there as staff marked the milestone.
It's our birthday. You can't miss it.
It's a big milestone for an independent bookstore, plus pride, you know, in the community. I mean, it's been in this location for 28 years, previously 12 years at Thurlow and Davie. It's a great honor to be here, and it's a legacy that we hope to keep working on. People can find all kinds of pride supplies, books, greeting cards, clothing, and adult wellness products. We're giving out cake, we've got a DJ, we've got lots of giveaways. We have different parts of the community here representing LBGQ, you know, so there's lots of things to do. As if it's anything like yesterday, it'll be packed out.
I mean, they've been here, hello, for 40 years, serving the community, being a safe space for people to come and ask their questions, learn about themselves, and get a little toy or two if you're feeling it. Little Sisters is one of Davie's iconic shops, and we are celebrating their 40th anniversary. We got cake, we got goodie bags, and the whole store is 20% on sale. That's incredible.
An updated offer is on the table for striking federal workers, but the picket lines across this country are still going strong. More on that story after the break. A new offer is on the table for striking federal workers, but that's not stopping them from hitting the picket lines right across the country. Despite demonstrations like this one in Quebec, the two sides say they're heading back to the bargaining table over the weekend. So far, the main sticking point has been wages. The last known offer by the government was 9% over 3 years. The union was asking for 13.5%, but says it has come down, though it's not saying by how much. Justin Trudeau pitched Canada as the place for international companies to invest in as he wrapped up his 2-day trip to New York today. But that didn't appear to impress his political opponents back home, who criticized the Prime Minister for not staying in the country to address the ongoing federal workers' strike. David Thurton has that story.
The Prime Minister talked up Canada to its southern neighbour.
Let's talk about meeting this moment. What Canada can be for the U.S. and what we can be together for the world.
Telling a full room in New York how Canada attracted the second largest automaker in the world. Volkswagen chose this city in Ontario to pump out millions of electric vehicle batteries annually, after Canada offered it billions in subsidies.
I'll be honest, there are places in the United States that were putting up way more money than we put on the table to try and get that gigafactory.
What sealed the deal, Trudeau says, a low-emission electricity grid, a well-educated workforce, and strong labor regulations. Even though the cost of doing business in Canada can be higher.
The lithium produced in Canada is going to be more expensive because we don't use slave labor.
But while the Prime Minister was talking about labor standards, the opposition accused him of taking a break during a massive strike back in Canada.
We know that the Prime Minister is not used to hard work, but can he at least pretend like he's trying?
While the Prime Minister is smoozing with billionaires, bankers, and taking selfies with Hollywood stars, 155,000 civil servant workers are on day 10 of their strike.
Trudeau and his UN ambassador both defended the trip.
This is an important role that Canada can and must play on the world stage. I'm glad to be here to do that over the past couple of days.
I don't think of this as being an exotic, strange place to be. It's where the United Nations is. It's where it's one of the great business capitals of the world. Prime Minister of Canada should be here regularly.
Warranted or not, Trudeau still faces questions about the merits of his travels and what this trip actually achieves. To that, he says, this trip was about showcasing what Canada has to offer and working with international partners to solve global problems. David Thurton, CBC News, New York.
Here is a live shot of the Inner Harbour in Victoria. Kuljeet will have your full forecast next.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
And our Kuljeet Kaila joins us now for a look at the forecast. Kuljeet, one of those days where Vancouver was just showing off after all of that rain. Can we expect this good weather to continue into the weekend?
For most of the weekend, we're going to have a little bit of rain, which will come to us not Saturday, but will arrive about Sunday morning. About 5 millimeters or less of rain. It won't be very much. It'll hit the south coast around Saturday morning. It'll be gone, hopefully by the afternoon, and across British Columbia tomorrow. Lots of sunshine as well. A little bit of cloud for Dease Lake and 11 degrees the high. 22 in Prince George tomorrow with lots of sunshine. 25 in Williams Lake, 27 in Kelowna, 22 in Cranbrook. So with these warm conditions, we've got snow melting at a rapid pace, which means our avalanche warning came out today as pretty high in many parts of the province. So if you are heading out this weekend, please plan very, very carefully with this avalanche warning being this high this early in the season. We need to all be very careful out there. So that's just a quick reminder for anybody heading out back doors. Today's high 17 degrees above average. Same with our low. BC's hotspot today was in Hope, up to 28 degrees. The last record for that region was 22.8 degrees, set back in 2006. And like I said, 70% chance of rain Sunday morning. I think it'll be a nice little cool down to break up all the heat that is coming our way. A bit of rain on Sunday, a little bit more on Monday is likely. Then we return to mostly sunny conditions midweek, Tuesday and Wednesday. Temperatures bump back up to 16 degrees. Thursday, we're going to get rain, about 15 millimeters of rain, a 70% chance there. So another cool down towards the end of next week. And then we return to mostly sunny conditions and clouds by the end of next week. So we're getting a little bit of everything that is great. Michelle?
All right, certainly spring in Vancouver. Thanks, Kuljeet.
You're welcome.
And that's your show for Friday. For news anytime, visit cbc.ca/BC. Your next local newscast is on Radio 1 tomorrow morning at 6:30. We'll leave you with spring shots from our friends at the Kokanee Creek Nature Center. Good night and good weekend.